There we go. Zulma Gonzalez, this mic is all yours.
Thank you, Lynn. And a magnificent and majestic and marvelous and miraculous Monday to each and every only one of us. Only one. First, good morning to my brother Regis, who is here in the room with me. And of course, Lynn, who is our dear mother who monitors and keeps everything um, keeps us all in line and in order and keeps us going. A good morning to Cindy, and good morning to Dove. And hi, it's been a great weekend. I had the privilege of taking a gentleman to the Center of Peace. I had posted, well, I had talked about him before. He is he's under medical care and to some extent under my care. And I am learning so much. It feels really, really, really wonderful to be truly helpful. And and it's the funniest thing. I tell people I don't I don't ask to do stuff. I don't put myself out there, as as energetic and as vibrant and as passionate as I tend to be, because that's just who I am. And I'm grateful that I can be that. That can be me. Um, there's that introverted part of me, and somebody says, "What introvert?" Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's that introverted part of me that tends to sit back and wait for things. And there's that what forgiveness is in the course. It sits back and it doesn't judge and it just waits. I had thought about, and I'm thinking about even, the time that I spent here on Mondays and Thursdays. I had spoken with Regis when he still had the 3 days about us doing something interactive because my thought always was if I was to do this, I wanted it to be interactive. I didn't want it to be just me. Although, we gain a lot from just listening, or rather, yeah, I gain a lot from just listening to other teachers, but I gain so they're different learning styles, they're different teaching styles. And for me it's more there's more to gain when I get to be engaged with others. But anyway, so when Regis gave up this time, which I felt like as he did it for me, when he gave up this time, um, I thought, all right, I'll do it. I've been recognized as a teacher of God here back in the 2007s and 2008, somewhere around there. And it was just time for me to just step back into where I belong. This is home. This is comfortable to me. I have no idea why I brought that up originally. About me just I'm not one that this opportunity to um serve in this young man's life. I didn't ask for it. I didn't it never occurred to me. I'm always sitting back asking, sharing with spirit, sharing with my higher self, my inner self, my God self, that to get I want ways to be more helpful, and I want to be more engaged, um actually and not just virtually. And and spirit always answers, ask and you shall receive is written, seek and you shall find, it's written, knock and the door will be open to you, it is written. And it's been written. So I've been having opportunity to do that. I'm involved with a social racial healing book study also a group out of the Centers for Spiritual Awareness in Sacramento, California, and had some magnificent um, discussions yesterday. Last night we talked about the movie's Origin. Don't know if anybody saw it. It's not. I don't think it's out now. It'll probably be on TV soon enough. Origin and American Fiction, both of which were phenomenal works about things and things as they were, as they are, and uh, how we pray that they that we get to see things differently in these areas. I think it would maybe bring that up is Lynn. I was thinking about the nonviolence communication and how ultimately it does fit in, because it's important that we realize that the system, the system um, has intent has attempts and succeeds in indoctrinating so many of us with certain ways of thinking. We call it race consciousness in religion, in religious science, and the mental sciences. We call this race consciousness, where we tend to not even realize that we're being infected with different thought processes. We call it the ego. We call it the world in the course. And even when we think we've got it in some areas, we're so sure, I've got a handle on this. Turn around and something occurs, and we look at those people and we think that way, not realizing that it's the infection. It's the infection, and regardless of how much um, medication and meditation, how much medication through meditation we take, we why do we keep coming back to this particular book, to these forums, day after day after day, week after week after week? Why do we do that? If the courses are 365, if the lessons are for 365 days, how many 365s have have we not experienced over and over and over again? Because we realize that the infection it hasn't gone away. Oh yeah, got some of it out, took the first few dosages of the medication and are better, but continually it's being brought to us, and we have to continually engage. Here I go. We have to continually engage with God so that we don't focus on what we see, hear, smell, taste, and touch, so that we don't focus on what we're perceiving, and get to the place of knowing. Uh, I'm grateful for that. It just came up. I don't know where all that came from, but there it was. Here it is. And let's get started. I'm going to share my screen. Where am I? Here. All right. And as always, we are talking about A Course in Miracles meets Science of Mind. And our reminder to mind your mind. Mind what's yours to mind. Mind your business. Your mind is your business. Dr. Ernest Holmes writes that to learn how to think is to learn how to live. The course tells us that this is a course in mind training, that all learning involves attention and study at some level. And we're reminded that an untrained mind can accomplish nothing. And since the course tells us that all thoughts produce form in some manner, Dr. Ernest writes that thoughts and things are but two ends of the same proposition. Since it's impossible to stop thinking, we cannot stop creating. Our choice is whether we shall create constructively or destructively. The course would say that what we make is destructive and what we create is constructive, that what we make is based on our lower uh, form of thoughts, bodily thoughts, and that what we create is based on our spiritual thoughts, seeing with vision and not with sight. All right. We've been talking about fear. We're going to keep on talking about fear until I'm tired of talking about fear and you all are talking about hearing about it and talking about it with me. We're returning back to Miracle Principles 26 and 28 from the course, the focus being on that miracles represent freedom from fear, that the undoing of fear is an essential part of the atonement value of miracles. And to atone means to undo, constantly undoing, undoing, undoing. To forgive is to overlook, the course teaches. We're learning to let go, to let go, to let go. Miracle principle 28 is that miracles are a way of earning release from fear. And that revelation induces a state in which fear has already been abolished. That is, we realize that in truth, it's not even there, that we're making it up. We're doing a hocus pocus on ourselves. Wow. We're doing a hocus pocus on ourselves. We're making up stories, and we realize in the revelation, when it's revealed to us, that the fear has already been abolished, that it's not there, that we're making it up. There are two workbook lessons that stand out for me as far as fear, and that is that fear is not justified in any form, and the reminder that fear binds the world, a world that's not even there. It's that we're making it up, we're putting this thing together, and we're back to what I was talking about, the systemic thing, that whole systemic infection. Fear is that systemic infection. Fear binds the world, and forgiveness, releasing, atoning, letting go, sets it free. From Dr. Ernest Holmes, from the Science of Mind textbook, the spirit has no responsibilities. And reminder first that we are spirit in a state of grace forever, that our reality is only spirit, that we have this body, but we are embodying the spirit. Spirit has no responsibilities. The spirit knows no want nor fear. It is complete within itself and lives by virtue of its own being. I am spirit. You are spirit and cannot take on the fears of the world. Spirit has no fear. Spirit isn't doing it. Spirit has no reason to fear, because spirit is coming from source, that God energy, that God source, and God has no fear. And I am that. So I am spirit and cannot take on the fears of the world. My ways are made straight before me. The pathway of life is an endless road of eternal satisfaction and perfect joy. My life within me is complete and perfect and has no cares or burdens. It is free spirit and cannot be bound. I rejoice in that freedom. I rejoice in freedom. And that's from Dr. Ernest Holmes, from the Science of Mind textbook. And today I have actually it's from a couple of different pages in Around the Year with Emmett Fox, a book of daily readings. And the writings here are from January 12th, 13th, and 14th. January 12th says, God is not just living, nor does God give life, but God is life. Where God is, there life is. From January 13th, God is not truthful, but truth itself. And wherever there is truth, there is God. There are many things that are relatively true at certain times and places only, but God is absolute truth at all times and in all circumstances. As soon as we touch God, oh, that just made me engaging with God, engaging. As soon as we touch God, who is the absolute, relative things disappear. Fear disappears. All that stuff that isn't real, that's temporary, it disappears. Because we go into that place that's untouchable, that's unseeable, untouchable with in the tangible sense. But it's a joining, it's a merging, it's It's the beingness. It's no separateness. It doesn't even make me think of who walks beside me, but no, but what I am, that what I am that walks me, what breathes me. God is not loving, but love itself. This is from January 14th of this book, Around the Year with Emmett Fox. God is not loving, but love itself. There is no condition that enough love will not heal. Where there is fear, there cannot be love. The best way to rid yourself of fear is to realize divine love. If you love God more than you love your microbe, your germs, your sickness, your grievance, your lack, or your fear, if you love God more than you love your microbe, your sickness, your grievance, your lack, or your fear, you will be healed. And we learn in religious science that there is nothing to be healed, only the truth to be revealed. The Course teaches us that only minds can be sick. It's not the body. It's never the body. It's never the body. We're not talking about physical healing, although that does tend to occur in a lot of cases, or so it seems. The pain goes away. But we're not even talking about that. We're talking about accepting life as it is, accepting God as it is, accepting truth as it is. And in that, we're healed. In that, there's no room to fear. There's no place to interpret things. We see it as it is. We let all things be exactly as they are. And in that, there is healing. Going back to the Course, the reminder that only your mind can produce fear. It does so whenever it's conflicted in what it wants. And that to undo the error, in conjunction with what Emmett Fox said, to undo the error, we have to know first that the conflict is an expression of fear. We can't just say, oh, I'm afraid, and that's it. No, sometimes we have to look at it. Sometimes we know that came from something before, and we're able to identify it and let it go right away. Other times we have to sit with it. We have to journal about it. We have to cry about it. We have to pray about it. We have to meditate about it. We have to talk to somebody else about it. But we have to know that this conflict is an expression of fear. And know too that you must somehow have chosen not to love, or the fear could not have arisen, which is what Emmett Fox just said. Where there is fear, oh boy, having a time here. Where there is fear, there cannot be love. So you know first that this is fear. The steps in accepting the atonement and accepting the undoing as the remedy is summarized this way. Know first that this is fear. In other words, you have to look at it. Know that fear arises from lack of love. I am putting myself, and fear is actually the call for love. So the reverse of that, the other side of that is to be willing to be able to extend the love, as opposed to having the call for it. Because even in my call for love, someone else outside gets to be truly helpful to me. But for me to be truly helpful, is to be in a position to extend the love. So to recognize that fear arises from this lack of love. That the only remedy for lack of love, or actually the belief in lack of love, is perfect love. Perfect being complete, perfect being whole. That's what perfect means, that it's already whole. There's only love. There is only love. And Karen Drucker has a song that says, there is only love. Wait, there is only love. A love that heals, a love that sets us free. There is only love. The only remedy for lack of love is perfect love, and then knowing that perfect love is the atonement. So the On Thursday, I began reading from Living the Science of Mind, a section titled Overcoming Overcoming Fear and the Inferiority Complex. And I'm going to continue from where I was reading and trust that maybe Regis, maybe Cindy, maybe Lynn will join in and provide some feedback, some thought, some insight. Let's see how this goes. Experience has proved to us that some people are afraid of life. That in itself is a fearful thought. And unfortunately, I know people who are actually that way. They are afraid of each other, and seldom do we find anything which even resembles a kingly or queenly attitude. Moreover, in those rather rare instances where we do find a kingly or queenly attitude, it is too often attended with arrogance. It is of the utmost importance to solve this perplexing problem, which every priest, physician, metaphysician, and psychologist meets in his daily contact with people. That is that every patient, every client that we have is seeing themselves as being separate from the creator and arrogant enough to believe that they're out here on their own by themselves, doing it all for themselves. And, I got this, but you don't, I didn't, I didn't. It was in knowing the truth that I am never separated from my source, divinely connected, divinely created. So this arrogance, under analysis, I'm continuing the reading. Under analysis, it has been found that an inferiority complex is based on the fear of life. Now, this is Ernest Holmes writing back in the early 30s. These are his writings from the early 30s. Under analysis, it has been, we're talking about almost 100 years. Under analysis, it has been found that an inferiority complex is based on the fear of life. The basic fear is an inability to properly adjust to everyday living. An oversensitive person is always handicapped and too often assumes an attitude of arrogance or blustering bravado to cover up his inward hurt. I'm going to drop my screen for a minute because it looks like Lynn disappeared. And if I'm not mistaken, she has to be in the room. Apparently not. It's still live on YouTube. It's still live. I don't know. I just want to make sure I didn't lose Lynn. We didn't lose anything. I see Michaela's just joined us. Hi, Michaela. Welcome. We are continuing with where we were reading last week about overcoming fear and the inferiority complex. And I'm already a couple pages. I'm just continuing from where we left off. And I was saying that under analysis, it has been found, I'm reading here, under analysis, it has been found that an inferiority complex is based on the fear of life. The basic fear is an inability to properly adjust to everyday living. And as I'm reading that, fear of life is saying that I'm afraid of myself. I'm afraid of God. I'm afraid of creation. I'm afraid of myself. I am life. If God is life, then I am life. And if I'm afraid of life, then I'm afraid of myself. And that really is the truth. All attack is self attack. It's only my own thoughts that I'm really afraid of, not the truth. In the Course, there's a sentence that says, look at what you're afraid of. Only the anticipation will frighten you. And I'll continue with the reading. An oversensitive person is always handicapped and too often assumes an attitude of arrogance or blustering bravado to cover up his inward hurt. Generally speaking, he will not admit that such a hurt is there. I know someone exactly like that. Always says, well, not that it hurts. I'm not saying that it hurts. Uh, but there's a sent in the course, one of the workbook lessons says that there are no small upsets. You say, I'm a little bit upset or a little bit perturbed. They'll say that, but they just won't call it hurt. Or maybe they don't see that it's hurt, but they just won't call it hurt. I my thought, which doesn't really matter, but my thought is that they see, they may see saying that they're hurt as being vulnerable. I don't know. But anyway, he will not admit that such a hurt is there. And even though he trains his will and studies every psychological method known with which to combat life, unless he has overcome the fundamental fears of life, he has only covered them that much deeper by his mental maneuvering. That is, pretending to be something that I'm not. In pain and Ralph Waldo Emerson says imitation is suicide. I'm killing myself. I'm hiding the light in me. Holding grievances hides the light in me. By trying to combat life, trying to fight my way through, trying to find peace through war. I'm going to fight for peace. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Fighting for peace. Regis, yes, my love.
All right, good morning. Um, you can't hear me, right? You can't hear me, right?
Come a little closer to the mic, please.
Let's see. You can hear me? Yeah.
I hear you, but
So I caught your mic. Let's see. Any better?
somewhat. Let's see. Keep talking.
Okay, so I just thought it was interesting when you said you know somebody like that because it, I think uh, just about everybody you meet is like that. Right? And everybody is, Dove always reminds us the great pretenders. Uh, in one of the reasons we were talking this week, uh, and I made a statement to my wife, and she said, "What are you talking about?" And I said, uh, "Christianity makes you a victim." And she said, "Well, what?" I said, "Most of America is founded on principles of biblical Christianity, no matter what denomination, Catholicism, or whatever." She said, "Well, what do you mean?" I said, "Well, there's God, there's Satan, and there's you. And nothing is ever your responsibility. It's you just at the whim of either Satan is attacking and God is defending, or God is blessing and Satan trying to take it away. But nothing is you. Nothing is your responsibility." I said, "That's ultimate. You're just a victim. You just out here dropped on the planet." And she said, "Well, how I get here?" "Well, basically, you just think you're a product of your mom and daddy's sexual act." I said, "But you do know, and you have heard And you do believe on some level when the scripture is quoted, I knew you before you entered your mother's womb. So but we just push that out of our mind. We just push that away. We hear it, somebody quote it, and we say, hallelujah. And we agree, and then we push it out of our mind. Okay, wait a minute, back up. So are you just a product of your mom and dad's sexual act? But no, we we are just dropped here on the planet through somebody's passion or rape or physical activity, and now we just out here on the planet, a victim, just an innocent bystander on a war between God and Satan, and we just caught in the crossfire. So, and we patch it up and cover it up with religious platitudes, but it's just a mask. But inside we're afraid, and what happens? All of the fear that was put on us through our parental upbringing, our caretakers, whether that was foster care, parental, maternal parent, or whatever, whoever, they just put all their fear on us, and we grow up and we go into a religious theology that just attaches on to that, and we think it's right to live this way. We think it's proper. You talk about arrogance, the arrogance of feeling uh, having autonomy from God, the arrogance of being thinking I'm separate from God. But this world calls arrogant Regis, the one who walks around thinking I'm the beloved Son of God, in whom He's well pleased, and it's not performance based, and I'm safe, and I'm whole, and I'm complete. I don't have to do anything. That's to the world, to 85 or 90% of the Christian indoctrinated world. That's arrogance. To think, you know, to think I'm safe, to have the audacity to think everybody loves Regis, to have the audacity to not think it, believe it, and know it. You know, so so it's not just a person you know, but practically everybody you meet, is in that space because that's what the ego thought system does. It's like its own solar system. It's running off its own energy, its own thought system. It keeps itself forever being perpetuated, and you have to jump off the wheel. you know, uh, and it can be a slow jump or a fast jump, but the system is self-perpetuating. And even though you think I'm learning these religious and spiritual principles, as we say so often, clear enough, your whole premise is flawed because you just really stuck between God and Satan have no war. And the Lord giveth, the Lord taketh away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. So I shut up.
That's absolutely true. And yes, I started out talking about the system. It's exactly right. It's the system. I just but the individual I was talking about actually says it out loud. We're all trying to mask and hide, but um this mask is it's clear. It's so some people's masks look pretty good. Some people may have been controlled as as children in their homes or what have you, molested or what have you, and they become physicians and lawyers and people and people we can in power and authority and judges and things like that, and the mask looks really good. Yes, they look at so and so, they went through X amount of years of schooling, and they're just a great the great teachers, and they're great physicians, and all that. And inside they're crumbling. Inside they're actually using that as their way to now be in control, to not have, I'll never let anybody control me again, that kind of thing. Um, and that's something that we even that I just heard somebody say something like that. There has to be we have to be aware. We have to be aware that there's only one will. There's only one will. And it's God's will. And God's will and my will are one. And that if I want to live in peace, I have to live in peace. If I want to live in peace, then I have to live in peace. The way I choose to live has to be in peace. Why is that a hard concept? I can't fight for peace. I'm going to have peace if I have to beat you up to get it. I'm going, no, no. But yeah, that's exactly right, Regis. It's an indoctrination. We're taught to think that we are separate, that we could wait, that I could pray you out of purgatory. I mean, I could pray you first. I was as a baby, I could pray you out of limbo, and then I could pray you out of. I could pray for your soul in purgatory, and I could pray for I could pray for people. I can that I can heal a body. I can literally heal a body. And if they don't heal, then of course it's God's fault because I prayed my best. Yeah, but we're taught to be in fear. We are taught to be in fear. All right, let's continue and see where this takes us. Anyone who is familiar with mental reactions knows that one who goes blustering around saying he has no fear, asserting loudly that he is just as good as anyone, and who always demands the attention of others, is sick inwardly. Is that not the person who's I need you. I need you to make me feel right about myself. I'm seeking outside myself. The course talks about that in chapter 29. Seek not outside yourself refers to as the antichrist, that outside of me, that idol, that thing outside to make me feel worthy. Which of course we see that unfortunately a lot in some of our stars, music stars or TV stars, as long as they're getting the accolades that they need from outside, they're fine. And when that's not the case anymore, they decide that their life is not that they serve no purpose, and ultimately end up taking their lives. A lot of times, take their physical lives. We see it. We see it, and we say, "Oh well, no, that's not in my family." So no, that's no thing. No, it's in my family too. Or yeah, it's in my family too. So I'll repeat the first sentence. Anyone who's familiar with mental reactions knows that one who goes blustering around saying he has no fear, asserting loudly that he's just as good as anyone, and who always demands the attention of others is sick inwardly. He or she is attempting to cover up some part of himself, although this is impossible to do. We're back to that. You can wear a mask, but the mask looks like a mask. It doesn't look like me. It looks like a mask. I had options this morning. I've been twisting my hair because I'm going to be driving for the next couple of hours, and I didn't really want to trying to give my hair something to look like something that I wanted to look like after I arrived. And I had the option to put a scarf on and all that. I said, you know what? I'm just going to dim the lights. I'm going to dim the lights. I'm not covering up. I'm not masking. I'm just kind of doing it in the shadows. But then there's daylight coming in, coming through. So it's not, anyhow, that's just the thought that came to me. Um, Covering up to try to, put on a look that would make me look better or something. And today I said, you know what? It is what it is. It is what it is. Attempting to cover up some part of myself, although it's impossible to do. The Chinese sage said, how can a man conceal himself? Though we crowd all of our emotions back into the unconscious. Hey, Dove. Oh, shucks now. We got Dove in the room. We got Dove in the room. That waiting for you. Just giving you time to get, you're on mute. If you have something to say, please let me know. I'll gladly give you the mic. Or he's busy with something. Okay. Though we crowd all of our emotions back into the unconscious, they always come up in another form. What's the course say? The form might be different, but the content is the same. The content is the same. It is impossible to bury a living spring. We can merely change its course. It is just as impossible to change, rather, it is just as impossible to destroy that dynamic urge, which some call the libido, some the will to power, and others, more rightly perhaps, designate as the life force seeking self-expression. Oh, I think I read this the other day. I didn't realize that. If we would heal the inferiority complex, we must arrive at conclusions more basic than merely teaching our student or patient to shout that he is self-sufficient. For the louder he screams, the more frightened he becomes, until finally his scream is a shriek and his attitude towards life becomes hysterical. We are told that inferiority complexes often arise from youthful frustration and early childhood repressions, or from emotional reactions which have shocked the finer sensibilities when they first come in contact with the hard realities of life. This may be true, and proceeding upon this theory becomes necessary to uncover the psychic stream of previous experiences and unconscious memories. And isn't that not what I just read from the course? We have to look at it. We have to look at it and know that this is fear. We can't just put the mask on and think it's not going to be there. It becomes necessary to uncover the psychic stream of previous experiences and unconscious memories. In this process of uncovering, this analysis of the soul or psyche or spirit, this uncovering, if the incident which started the stream of consciousness in the wrong direction, that is, which turned it back upon itself, is brought to the surface and self-seen, it is generally dissipated. When we look at ourselves, when we're willing to look, when we are willing to look, it's that looking in the mirror and really giving ourselves a chance to see ourselves, that's when we can let things fall away. When I started seeing Dr. Winston Collins back in 1992, he gave me an assignment to look in a mirror and tell myself that I was worthy. And I'll tell you, that was the hardest. Oh my goodness. I would look, I'd say it, and this is dumb. And I'd turn away. And I would look and I would say it, and this is, but I wasn't even able to look myself straight directly in the eye. I couldn't look myself in the eye, which is interesting. This is, I mean, wherever I go, there I am. But I couldn't look myself in the eye. But this wasn't our first session, and I knew that there was something to what this man was attempting to teach me, as he had already shown me in a couple of previous sessions. And I kept at it, and I kept at it, and I kept it had to go from my head to my heart. It had to go from just saying it to believing it, to knowing it, to being convicted about it. It had to go to that point. And when it did, the day it did, I remember it's like I was seeing past myself. And I remember saying the words, telling myself that I was worthy. And for the first time ever, I felt it. I believed it. I knew it. And I burst into tears. I literally just sobbed and sobbed and sobbed. I had never in my life been told that I was worthy. Now, today I understand that sense of self-worth was basically, what the course calls that self-esteem thing, but it had nothing to do with the truth about me. But that day, I was able to see the truth of myself, that my worth wasn't established by the person I saw in the mirror. It was established by that which I saw beyond that person, that my worth was established by my creator. Oh, 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 oh. Of course, what we do, we go back and we forget, the sleep of forgetfulness, go into the sleep of forgetfulness, unwilling to remember the truth of God's love, truth of forgiveness. But it would come and go. At least there was a crack in the door. I was able to begin to see a me that I didn't even know was there. So we were told that these, mhm. Where am I? Where am I? In this process of uncovering this analysis of the soul or psyche, if the incident which started the stream of consciousness in the wrong direction is brought to the surface and self-seen, it is generally dissipated. To analyze every person psychologically is out of the question. And it seems just as impossible to convince everyone of the truth of certain religious dogmas. Religious dogmas, which Regis was just talking about, I brought up earlier. Religious dogmas. What's the matter, baby? What's the matter? What's the matter? Let me see. I'll take care of that. I know it. I'll take care of that. All people do not wish to become orthodox religionists, nor do they wish to believe in some particular form of spiritual philosophy. What then are we going to do? The answer is so simple that it seems surprising when we arrive at its correct conclusion. We should not overlook the fact that there are innumerable persons who have been what we call twice born, born again. I've been born again and again and again. I'm born anew every day. Every day. Every day I'm meeting my maker. Every day I'm engaging with God. Every day. But that's not what he's talking about here. Through religious convictions, their whole lives have been instantly transformed. Yes, that is what he's talking about. Through religious convictions, their whole lives have been instantly transformed and the entire psychic stream of previous experiences reversed. We're talking about the atonement here. We're talking about atoning. We're talking about being willing to look at it, see it differently, and let it go. Fear has been overcome through faith and through spiritual conviction, and morbid neuroses have given way before some spiritual force which we cannot completely analyze, but which no person who has investigated the facts would think of denying. We're talking about that what we call God, that truth, that source. That source. Some people have never stepped into a therapist or have experienced some of the same things that some of the rest of us have experienced and never felt the need to step into a therapist's office because they recognize that their therapy came from within. Ultimately, that is the recognition that it comes from within. Because what Dr. Collins sought to do was guide me to find my true self. When that man told me that if I looked at what role I played in all of that stuff that had happened in my life, that I would realize there was nothing to forgive. It was cracking. It was cracking. It was cracking. When I then looked in chapter 13 of the course, the section of the function of time, which talked about how the ego invests heavily in the past, that these are shadowy figures that I needed to escape, that um that past pain is an illusion. Until I came to that place where I was able to see that, I was stuck. But this is what we're talking about. This is that moment. This is that moment where fear had been overcome by faith and through spiritual conviction that morbid neurosis had given way before some spiritual force had given way out the way, and it could not be denied. All religions, Dr. Holmes continues, which have helped people, have helped them because of one common denominator running through each, and that is faith in something greater than the isolated self. That is the knowing that we are not alone. That's what the Course continually reminds us. We are not alone. Who walks with me? God speaks to me all through the day. God's voice speaks to me all through the day. I am sustained by the love of God. God is what I am. The Holy Spirit is the voice is literally in me. All that equally, all psychological processes which have been beneficial in removing fear and the inferiority complex have been able to do so because of one common denominator running through the process, namely the giving back of the self to the self, followed by the re-education of the self and the readjustment of the self to life in confidence, in faith, and in self-assurance. An untrained mind can accomplish nothing. That all learning requires study and attention at some level. That to learn how to think is to learn how to live. And Dr. Holmes continues, this should teach us that there is one basic negotiation, which is the denial of the life principle, and one basic affirmation, which is the acceptance of the life principle, and that the affirmation reduces the negation to its native nothingness. We go from knowing that it's fear, but knowing that we're in fear, to looking at it, to learning how to see it differently. Above all else, I want to see it differently. I go from denying the truth to denying the denial of truth. And that affirmation reduces the negation. That denying the denial of truth is affirming the negation of the life principle. We recognize that we are always connected to our source, that we can never be apart and separate. It's not possible. That life principle is what we are. As I read from Emmett Fox, God isn't just the living, God is life. And what God is, I am, for I am created in the likeness, like my creator. I am life. I'll continue. It would be impossible for one to remain filled with fear if the confidence in the dwelling spirit were greater than the fear. For such confidence would automatically neutralize fear. This is what has taken place in that particular type of religious conversion, which has caused an individual to become twice born. See, A Course in Miracles wasn't around yet when this was written. Because, but in truth, the way I see it, I am being born again because I am letting go of the old life, dying to how the Bible teaches, dying to the old man, the old self, and becoming renewed in the spirit of my mind. Miracle principle number 7, the miracles are everyone's right, but purification is necessary first. So we have to undo. Now we're talking about the atonement. Again, I'm, yes, born again and again and again, every day. Every day that I commit, every day that I decide, every day that the decisions are continuous. I can change my mind anytime. But every day that I decide that I'm only here for God, that I'm only here to be truly helpful, that I'm only here to represent God who sent me, that I don't have to worry about what to say or what to do because God who sent me will direct me. That I can be content to be wherever God wishes, knowing that God goes with me. I am healed as I let God teach me to heal. Because what's coming out is what's on the inside. What's coming out of me is what's within. Twice born, thrice born, continually born, reborn again and again and again. Because every time I undo, every time I let go, every time I choose to see it differently, every time I forgive, every time I release, every time I see my brother as myself, I'm being born again and again and again. What his religious, back to Dr. Ernest, what his religious convictions were is of no consequence if by them he arrived at the truth and the salutary effect took place. There we go. It means nothing that I call myself a religionist of any kind, if I call myself a ACIM purist, if I call myself a religious science practitioner, all those titles and labels and all that doesn't mean a darn thing if I'm not living my truth. In the Bible is written that to be a doer of the word and not just a hearer, and that, one who is just a hearer, a doer and not a hearer is like one who looks in the mirror, walks away and forgets what he looks like, forgets how he looks. Be a doer and not just a hearer. You want to jump down? Go ahead. In recognizing this, Dr. Holmes continues, we do not dishonor his religious conviction. Rather, we affirm it. And this is why early on, Dr. Holmes in his Science of Mind text, he talks about don't go around criticizing other people's stuff, other people's religion. I don't care that you choose to be or whatever else you choose to be. I don't care. I don't care. That, first of all, it's not my business. What is my business is the oneness. If what you're doing, it may be in Jesus' name, it may be in Buddha's name, I don't know, in whatever's name. If whatever you're doing is bringing about the peace, I want to know what that is. I want that. So in recognizing this, we do not dishonor his religious conviction, rather we affirm it. But in such degree as we understand the working of any principle, we need no longer approach it along a spasmodic and more or less uncertain avenue of some peculiar form of conversion. The same may be said of the different schools of applied psychology. They all arrive at practical results, and these results generally depend upon the practitioner more than upon the methods involved, since the principle underlying all of these methods must be one of faith. Oh, it's almost 11 o'clock. It's time for me to go. Wow, that was a quick hour. I'm glad to have had it. I'm going to stop right here. I don't know how much of the rest of this is even, I may or may not read it when we come back, and we'll see. But the point, going back to where we started, is that we have to know first that it is fear. We have to know first that it is fear. We have to look at it, be willing to let it go, to realize that only our mind can produce fear. It's nothing out there, that it does so when it's conflicted in what it wants. We have to know first that it is fear. We have to recognize that fear arises from lack of love. We have to know that the only remedy for lack of love is perfect love, which is complete love, and that perfect love, that complete love, is the atonement. That atonement is the letting go. Miracles are everyone's right, but purification is necessary first. So I'm going to go continue to purify. I love you all. Have a wonderful day. And Lynn, here's the mic.
Thank you, Zulma. And wow, I bet you didn't even know that my internet went down while you were speaking, and but you continued still on, so it was all